I found out from my neighbor. Not from social media, from Mrs. Caldwell, who was 71 years old and had lived 2 houses down from the house that used to be mine and that was now entirely Terrence's, and who called me on a Friday afternoon with the specific warm urgency of a woman who considers herself an informal keeper of the block's dignity and who had decided that what she had witnessed required my knowledge. "He's having a party tomorrow night," she said. "He put up a sign." "A sign," I said. "On the front lawn," she said. "It says Celebration of Freedom." "He put balloons." I was quiet for a moment. "Balloons," I said. "Red and gold," she said. "He also sent a group message to the block. I received it by mistake, I think. It says celebrating a fresh start and letting go of what was holding me back." I thanked Mrs. Caldwell. I set the phone down. "My name is Paulette. I am 38 years old. Terrence Hayward and I had been married for 9 years. The divorce had been finalized 6 weeks ago. I had walked out of the marriage with the particular composed dignity of a woman who had understood, 18 months before the divorce papers were filed, where the marriage was going and who had spent those 18 months preparing accordingly. Not from strategy, but from the professional reflex of a woman who had spent 11 years as a private wealth consultant and who understood that preparation is not pessimism. It is respect for what is coming. I had prepared. What Terrence did not know, what nobody on the block knew, what Mrs. Caldwell did not know, what the recipients of the group message celebrating freedom from what was holding him back did not know, was that the following evening, at approximately 8:45 p.m., I had a dinner engagement. The engagement required a car. The car had been arranged by my new partner, Lionel, who was the kind of man who arranged cars the way other men arranged flowers, as a natural expression of the specific quality of his attention. The car was a Rolls-Royce. The route to the restaurant passed Terrence's house. I had not planned this. But I was not going to change the route. Before I tell you about the ring and the car and the specific quality of Terrence's silence, I need to tell you who I was and what I had been building. Because the Rolls-Royce is meaningless without the woman inside it, and the woman inside it is meaningless without the 11 years that built her. I had grown up in a household where my mother, a woman of extraordinary financial intelligence who had spent 30 years being paid less than she was worth by institutions that undervalued her, had taught me the specific language of money not as a social tool, but as a form of self-determination. She had taught me to read financial statements the way other parents taught their children to read stories for what they revealed about the people and institutions behind them. I had become a private wealth consultant. Not glamorously, with the specific patient unglamorous discipline of someone who builds expertise over a decade by being the most prepared person in every room and by understanding that the clients who trust you with their wealth are trusting you with the infrastructure of their lives. I had also, during 9 years of marriage to Terrence, been the primary financial architect of the household. Not because Terrence was incapable, he was a capable man, a project manager with a steady career and a comfortable income. But because I was better at the financial architecture and because the marriage had, gradually and without explicit agreement, organized itself around this. I had managed the investment accounts. I had managed the savings strategy. I had managed the specific financial decisions that had grown our net worth across 9 years from the modest starting point of 2 young professionals to the specific position of people who had built something real. When the marriage ended, the accounting was clear. What we had built together was divided with the fairness that the law required and that I had ensured through the specific attention of a woman who had spent 11 years understanding that financial clarity is the foundation of every other kind. What I had built separately, the client portfolio I had been developing, the professional reputation that had been growing across 11 years, the independent financial practice I had incorporated 2 years before the divorce, was mine. Entirely mine. Terrence had not looked closely at what I had built separately. He had looked at what we had built together. He thought that was the inventory. The 18 months before the divorce papers were filed were the months that made everything that followed possible. I want to be precise about this, because the 18 months are not the story of a woman planning a departure. They are the story of a woman who saw clearly what was happening in her marriage and who responded with the particular professional discipline that was simply the way she responded to everything that required accurate understanding before action. What was happening in the marriage was this. Terrence had changed in the specific way that people change when they have decided something about the relationship before they have told the relationship about the decision. He was present in the house and absent in the marriage. He was communicating through the particular language of small withdrawals, each one individually explainable, each one cumulatively declaring something he had not yet said with words. I had understood the language by month 6 of the 18 months. I had also, in the same month, received an approach from a partnership firm that had been watching my independent practice and that wanted to bring me in as a named partner. The timing was not coincidental. When you have spent 11 years building expertise and reputation in a field, the offers do not arrive randomly. They arrive when the work has reached the threshold of visibility that makes you worth approaching. My work had reached that threshold. I had said yes to the partnership. In month 9, I had expanded the client portfolio through a strategic referral arrangement with an estate planning firm. In month 12, I had moved the independent practice into proper office space, a 2-room suite on the 14th floor of a building downtown, with a view that I had chosen deliberately because views, I had always believed, communicate something about the scale of your ambition to everyone who sits across from you. In month 15, I had hired 2 associates. In month 18, the divorce papers arrived. I signed them with the specific composed attention of a woman who had been prepared for this document for the previous 6 months and who had used the preparation well. Terrence thought he was releasing himself from something that was holding him back. He was releasing himself from the most financially competent person he had ever been in proximity to. I wished him well. I had a practice to run. Lionel Osei was 42 years old, Ghanaian American, and had come into my life 7 months before the divorce was finalized through the particular professional pathway that the best personal connections sometimes use, a client referral. A meeting about estate planning that had become a conversation about other things, a second meeting that had been scheduled for professional purposes and that had produced, by its end, the specific mutual understanding that what was happening was not primarily professional. He was the founder and managing partner of a real estate investment firm that operated across 4 cities. He was also, and I want to say this carefully because it is important and because it is sometimes misread, not the reason I was ascending. I was ascending before Lionel arrived. He arrived and recognized what he was seeing and found it worth his attention, which is the specific quality of a man who has built something of his own and who therefore knows how to recognize building when he sees it. He did not rescue me. He added to something that was already there. He also arranged cars with the natural ease of a man for whom the specific logistics of a significant evening were simply part of how he moved through the world. Not as performance, but as the ordinary expression of someone who had been operating at a certain level long enough that the level had become the texture of daily life. He had proposed 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized. Not immediately, with the specific unhurried certainty of someone who had been decided for some time and who had waited for the legally appropriate moment to express what he had already known. I had said yes on a Tuesday morning over coffee at the kitchen table of my apartment. Not at a restaurant. Not in a staged public space. At my own table. With my own coffee. In my own apartment that I had chosen and furnished and lived in as entirely mine. He had placed the ring on my finger. It was not a small ring. The ring communicated what Lionel communicated in everything, that he had looked at the situation clearly and had made a decision that reflected the full accuracy of his assessment. He had assessed correctly. I called Mrs. Caldwell on Saturday afternoon. Not to ask about the party, to ask about her. This was my habit with Mrs. Caldwell, who had been on the block longer than any of the current residents, and who had the particular quality of someone whose witnessed history of a neighborhood makes her its most accurate narrator. She answered on the first ring. "The balloons are up," she said. "I know," I said. "He's been in and out since morning," she said. "People arriving early. Music setting up." "Mrs. Caldwell," I said. "Yes," I said. "I'm going to pass the house tonight," I said. "Around 8:45. I have a dinner engagement." A pause. "What kind of car?" she said. "A Rolls-Royce," I said. The silence that followed was the specific silence of a 71-year-old woman processing information and arriving at a response that she was not going to deliver quickly because the response deserved its full preparation. "Paulette," she said. Yes, I said. Are you happy? She said. Yes, I said. Then I will be on my porch at 8:45, she said. You don't need to be, I said. I know I don't need to be, she said. I want to be. I have lived on this block for 31 years, and I have watched a great many things happen on it, and some of them have been worth watching, and I intend to be on my porch for this one. I laughed. Mrs. Caldwell, I said. What ring? She said. I'm sorry. I said. You said you had a new ring, she said. I need to know the size of the ring before I know how much porch time this requires. I looked at the ring. I described it. She was quiet for a moment. I'm going to need a blanket, she said. For the porch. It might be a long evening. I laughed again, the specific full laugh that arrives when something is genuinely funny and when you are in a period of your life where laughter is available because the conditions that were suppressing it are no longer in the room. Thank you, I said. For what? She said. For calling me about the balloons, I said. Someone needed to, she said. The car arrived at 8:30. Not a car in the generic sense, the Rolls-Royce in the specific sense, which means a vehicle whose presence on a street communicates something before the door opens, which produces a specific quality of attention in the people who see it, which has an interior that feels like the particular luxury of a space, designed to make the person inside it feel that the journey is as significant as the destination. Lionel was not in the car. He was meeting me at the restaurant. He had sent the car because sending the car was how he understood the evening's specific requirements. I needed to arrive at the dinner engaged, not at the dinner preoccupied by the logistics of getting there. And the car was his specific way of removing the logistics from my consideration. I wore a dress I had bought 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized. Not for tonight, for the specific version of my life that the post-divorce period had clarified and that required a wardrobe that matched the clarity. Deep midnight blue. Structured. The particular kind of beautiful that communicates that the woman wearing it has looked in the mirror and confirmed that what she sees is accurate and sufficient. The ring on my finger caught the light as I got in the car. The driver, a man of about 50 with the particular composed efficiency of someone who has been doing this long enough to understand that his job is to be invisible while being completely present, held the door. I sat. The car moved. At 8:43 p.m., we turned onto the street where the house used to be half mine. The party was visible from a block away. Not dramatically, but visible. The specific warm light of a house that has been filled with people and music and the particular festive atmosphere of an occasion someone has put effort into. Cars along the street. People on the front porch in the specific relaxed posture of guests who have arrived early enough to be comfortable. And on the front lawn, the sign. Red and gold. Celebration of freedom. I looked at it through the window as the car moved. I did not feel triumph. I felt something smaller and more honest, the particular quiet of a woman who has been told she was holding something back and who is riding in the specific evidence that what she was holding back was herself. The car slowed for a stop sign. The stop sign was directly in front of the house. This was not planned. Stop signs are where they are and the route to the restaurant required this one, and the car stopped at it with the specific unhurried patience of a driver who follows the rules of the road regardless of what is happening on the lawns adjacent to them. The stop lasted approximately 8 seconds. 8 seconds is a long time when you are in a Rolls-Royce at a stop sign in front of a party. It is a very long time when the party is for your freedom from a person who is currently in the car at the stop sign. Terrence was on the porch. I saw him see the car. I watched his face do the specific rapid sequence of a man who is registering information in the order it arrives, first the car, then the recognition that the car is stopped in front of his house, then the window, then my face through the window, then the dress, then the ring. The ring. His face stopped at the ring the way faces stop when they have arrived at the piece of information that is too large to process at the speed it is arriving. He was not alone on the porch. The porch had 7 or 8 people on it. They watched him stop. They looked at the car. Some of them looked at me through the window. The party that had been audible from a block away, the music, the specific warm sound of 30 people in a house celebrating something, was not audible through the car's windows. But I could see, from the porch, from the faces, from Terrence's stillness, that the quality of the evening had shifted in the 8 seconds of the stop sign. Not ruined. Reorganized. The stop sign cleared. The car moved. In the side mirror I saw Mrs. Caldwell on her porch. She raised her hand. I raised mine. The car turned the corner. The party was behind me. The restaurant was ahead. Lionel was waiting. The restaurant was the kind of room that exists in every city and that most people know about without having occasion to be inside. The specific warmth of a space that has been doing one thing correctly for 30 years and whose doing of it correctly has produced a quality of atmosphere that cannot be replicated by newer places that have not yet earned their particular kind of settled confidence. Lionel was at the table. He stood when I came in, not from performance, but from the specific natural courtesy of a man for whom standing was simply what you did when the person you were with arrived. He looked at me. "You're glowing," he said. 8 seconds at a stop sign, I said. He understood immediately. I had told him about the party when Mrs. Caldwell called, and he had said, "Do you want to change the route?" And I had said, "No." And he had said, "Good," with the particular simple approval of a man who does not add unnecessary words to situations that are already exactly what they are. We ordered. We ate. The dinner was the specific quality of a meal shared by two people who are genuinely happy in each other's presence and who do not need the dinner to produce anything other than what it already is. At some point during the main course I said, "How do you think he felt?" Lionel looked at me. "Which part?" he said. "The ring," I said. He was quiet for a moment. "I think," he said, "that a man who threw a party to celebrate being free of someone does not expect that someone to be more free than he is." I looked at my ring. "Is that what this is?" I said. "Being more free?" "No," he said. "I think this is being exactly where you were always going." The freedom isn't from him. The freedom is what you built while you were with him, and what you continued building when you left, and what you will build next. That has nothing to do with him. I looked at the man across from me. "You're very clear about things," I said. "You surround yourself with clear things," he said. I learned from the surroundings. I laughed. It was the best dinner I had eaten in years. Terrence called on a Sunday. I answered because I had decided, in the car on the way home from the restaurant, that I was going to answer if he called. Not because I owed him the conversation, but because the conversation was going to happen eventually, and having it from a position of complete comfort in my own life was better than having it from a position of avoidance. "Paulette," he said. "Terrence," I said. "I saw you last night," he said. "I know," I said. "The car," he said. "Yes," I said. "The ring," he said. "Yes," I said. A long pause. "I wanted to ask you something," he said. "All right," I said. "How long?" he said. Not a complete sentence, the beginning of one that he was having difficulty finishing. "How long what?" I said. "How long were you building this?" he said. "What I saw last night." "How long had that been? Who was that? Who was in that car?" I sat with the question. "The woman in the car," I said, "has been there the whole time. You were looking at the marriage. She was in the marriage. But she was also the woman who went to work every morning and built a professional practice and managed the household's finances and grew what we had with the particular quiet attention of someone who understood that the significant things are built before they are visible." He was quiet. "I thought the party was," he said. "I know what you thought," I said. "I was wrong," he said. "About a few things," I said. "But Terrence, the party was yours to have. The celebration was yours to organize. If the marriage ending felt like freedom to you, then the party was honest. What you didn't account for was that the ending felt like freedom to me too." He was quiet for a long time. "Are you happy?" he said. "Yes," I said. "I'm glad," he said. And I believed him. Not because he had earned my belief. Because the specific quality of his voice carried the particular honest thing that people sometimes produce when the performance has been removed from a situation, and what is left is simply two people who spent 9 years together and who are, on the other side of it, capable of wishing each other well. "Goodbye, Terrence," I said. "Goodbye, Paulette," he said. "Here is what I kept from 9 years and a divorce and a sign on a front lawn and 8 seconds at a stop sign and a ring that caught the light. I kept the 11 years of professional discipline. Not the career title, not the income, not the specific credentials, the discipline. The 11 years of being the most prepared person in rooms that did not always register my preparation. Of building expertise with the particular unglamorous patience of someone who understood that the visible result is always the product of the invisible work and that the invisible work is not a prelude to the real thing, but is itself the real thing. I was doing the real thing every day for 11 years. The Rolls-Royce was a car. The work was the life. I kept what Lionel said at the restaurant. The freedom isn't from him. It's what you built while you were with him, and what you continued building when you left, and what you will build next. That has nothing to do with him. I have returned to this sentence in every moment when I have been tempted to organize my sense of progress around the wrong reference point. Progress is not measured against the people who doubted you. It is measured against the person you were trying to become. I am that person. The measuring is done. I kept Mrs. Caldwell on her porch with a blanket. She had been on the block for 31 years and had decided that this was a moment worth being present for, and had gotten a blanket and sat on the porch and raised her hand when the car turned the corner. She called me on Sunday morning to describe what she had seen from the porch, the specific sequence of Terrence's face, the shift in the party's quality, the moment the car disappeared around the corner. She described it with the particular warm precision of a 71-year-old woman who has been a reliable witness to her neighborhood for 3 decades and who is very good at her specific and unrequested vocation. I am 38 years old. My ex-husband threw a party to celebrate being free of me. I passed in a car. I had a ring. He went silent for 8 seconds at a stop sign. Then the car moved. And I had a dinner to get to. And Lionel was waiting. And the meal was the best I had eaten in years. That is the whole story. The whole story was never about him. If this story reached something in you, if someone once celebrated being free of you and had no idea what they were actually releasing, I want to hear about it in the comments. What did they think they were letting go of? Stories like this one stay alive because people carry them forward. Share this with someone who needs it today. And if you would like more stories told honestly, the way things worth keeping deserve to be told, subscribe. We will be here. The end.